Monday, October 8th. Welcome to the Matt Sager Podcast. Gonna be a quick one tonight. Gotta watch the season finale of Better Call Saul. And I would love to recap the events of New York Comic Con, although I need to be very upfront about this. Those events, the people were wonderful. They always are. It's always great to see friends in town, help them promote their projects, see what those projects are, but the offerings were not good. I mentioned that I saw Venom and it was pretty terrible. The same was true of the first episodes of the DC Universe Titans series. Doom Patrol looks like it may be good, but honestly, Titans is so bad. I've got to modulate my expectations and would advise you to do the same. Wow. I like Jeff Johns a lot. I've always thought of him as someone who had a great affinity for those characters. He did a run on the Teen Titans comic in the 2000s. But, oh boy, wow. Just wait until you watch episode 1. I'm going to not spoil anything, other than to say that if you've watched those trailers and gone, wow, that looks ridiculous, the trailers accurately reflect what the first couple of episodes play out like. Other than they don't sufficiently portray Starfire as a psychotic mass murderer with no discernible motivation, other than homicide and I guess some form of amnesia. The show's a disaster. But I want to go watch Better Call Saul so I can start chopping up sound bites to talk about the episode tomorrow and recap it for you. But I did mention last week that there was a voiceover artist who no one in the community had called out, and I was really shocked and appalled and disgusted by that fact. But more than that, I'm shocked and appalled and disgusted at this particular voiceover artist. I'm talking about Rachel Butera. And if you want to go to every casting director and every agent on the planet and say I've got a big problem with her, she's an asshole, and she should be fired by Disney for this Star Wars Resistance, which already is garbage, looks horrific. On YouTube, Disney's paid employees have managed to get it up to 12,000 likes, but that's nothing compared to the 145,000 dislikes. So yeah, on the one hand, you might say Rachel Butera is the least of Disney's worries, certainly when it comes to Star Wars Resistance, which is just designed to fail. It's despicable. And the excuse they give when people say, wow, this looks really shitty, is they go, well, why would you make such a deal out of a kid's show? Well, you're airing it Sunday nights at 10 p.m. and you're marketing it toward adults. So it's interesting how it becomes a kid's show when adults point out that it's awful. But if you're interested in having quality programming that makes you money, you might want to consider not unleashing a horrible Star Wars show on Disney XD and further diluting a brand that is already in absolute freefall, in crisis. Solo, a Star Wars story, is the beginning of Star Wars losing money, losing the loyalist fans in the world, fans who sat through those horrible prequels and the very, very spotty latest episodes. Rogue One was quite good. Last Jedi, okay, apparently Russian trolls dislike it too. That's fine. I also disliked it enormously for reasons that were quite obvious to me. But getting back to Rachel Butera, I get that there's some force within the community where you go, wow, oh boy, this artist is so big, I'd better not make any ripples, better not make any noise, better not call them out. Yeah, I don't buy that. Listen, if you're going to be a creative, you're taking an enormous risk. You are throwing away any number of careers that have more stability, that you can slide in and out of, and where if you toe the line, it's fine. If you don't have a need to express yourself, these are great careers. Working as a lawyer, a doctor, a writer, a publisher, a post office employee. These are all jobs where if you have an opinion that you'd rather not voice, or where you'd rather not shake things up, where you'd rather toe the company line and just keep things on an even keel, that'll work out for you. But if you're going to be a creative, it doesn't matter what you do or do not say. You can lose your job because you didn't speak up. You can lose your job because your casting director decides you remind them too much of a friend they don't get along with anymore. Similarly, you could get a job because you remind your casting director of a friend or a romantic partner that they no longer get along with. It is a game that, if your heart is not 100% in it, I question why you bother, other than to brag about it. And that no one has called out Rachel Butera for her despicable behavior. I'm going to be the guy. So be it. And if it ends my career, that's fine. This is a sword I'm actually willing to impale myself on. Because fuck Rachel Butera for mocking victims of sexual assault. Victims of sexual assault who were pilloried in the public eye during these Kavanaugh hearings. A victim, Christine Blasey Ford, who cannot return to her home because of the number of death threats she continues to receive, because of people like Rachel Butera, who thought, oh, let me do something funny. Let me put on my Elton John glasses, do a big close-up in my car cam, show off my cold sore to the world, and do a bad, unfunny impression of this woman as she is spilling her guts out in the public eye and having her life destroyed. Granted, I've gotten an actual on-camera role on Murphy Brown, but let me just throw out my feminist bona fides by mocking a rape victim while she's testifying. Fuck you, Rachel. This is what she did while Christine Blasey Ford was testifying before the Senate.
Anybody is listening to the Dr. Blasey Ford testimony about Brett Kavanaugh, but this is how I sound. I know it's a surprise to even me.
What a disgusting piece of crap. And yeah, if you look at her, it is more disgusting. She is sporting a fantastically large cold sore, but that is nowhere near as diseased as what she's saying.
That I talk this way, and I'm a doctor and a grown woman. I sound like I'm still back at that high school party.
Can I just say what that does to someone who suffered trauma? The damage that she is compounding just to try and get some attention. And I would go so far as to say, she's now deleted her video. She's deleted not her YouTube channel, but this video. She deleted her Twitter. She deleted, I think, her Instagram for now, because she thinks this is going to just pass her by, and it may well. But I think even more, I think she wants to be a victim. I think that there is money to be made, and this has been demonstrated in these assholes who go after comics and Star Wars and everything else. There is money to be made when the quote-unquote politically correct people, those who advocate basic human decency, call you out for being a horrible piece of garbage and shun you from society because you deserve to be shunned because you're a monster. You can then go on all sorts of right-wing websites and set up GoFundMes because the liberals have gotten you down, and you become a folk hero to KKK members and white nationalists and misogynists and rapists. And I think that Rachel Butera is looking for that easy money of the censored conservative, which is just, in this instance, only code speak for, something bad happened to me because I mocked a rape victim whose life was being destroyed while it was being destroyed. And yeah, I certainly hope she loses the role on Murphy Brown, or that loses all of its feminist bona fides. And I also think she should lose the role on Star Wars Resistance, and there's a specific reason for that. It's not just because she's a horrible person, and she's displaying it as clearly as anyone could. It's because Disney set a precedent not that long ago when they fired James Gunn for joking tweets that are over a decade old that they knew about when they hired him to direct Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But they came to light, this white nationalist piece of crap started a campaign smearing him, and before a day had passed, James Gunn had been fired by Disney. The Guardians franchise is in jeopardy because it looks like many of the cast members are revolting because it was such an unjust firing. But Disney did it because their presence on social media and the internet is so valuable to them. Their image as a family-friendly company is everything to them. The little work I've done with Disney, I knew that James Gunn was going to lose his job because for Disney, their image is everything. They cannot have someone go out and mock pedophilia. If Disney is okay with Rachel Butera mocking victims of sexual assault, then they are hypocrites. They deserve all the failure that the show is going to bring them, and they deserve a lot worse. And I urge my fellow voice actors, who I see all day and night, and I saw while this was going on and while Rachel Butera was showing off her cold sore and doing this awful impression and mocking a sexual assault victim, I saw them posting, this Kavanaugh thing is really upsetting me. Where is decency? Where is humanity? And not one of them, not one, said a thing about this piece of trash. Now, granted, maybe the standards for Rachel Butera are quite low. She's mostly known for being Ronnie's mom on the Howard Stern show, which I'm not going to punish you with that. But boy, you want to talk about the end of creativity. The fact that Howard let Billy West go, who was working for essentially nothing, and is paying Rachel Butera to just scream obscenities, and she is just the worst of the worst. But let's just finish off. She wanted this scrub from the internet, but I think you should know what a piece of shit Rachel Butera is. Here's the rest of her, quote, impression, end quote, of Christine Blasey Ford.
Like a baby. I can't help it. I just have this kind of a voice, like a baby, even though I'm a doctor and I'm on this media circus, political.
Wow, media circus. Media circus. She became aware that her sexual assaulter was about to be a Supreme Court justice, and she did her duty as a citizen, ruined her life, became the subject of mockery, first by idiots like Rachel, then by the conservative media sphere, then by our president, who is mocking her in rallies this week. And her life, when I say it's destroyed, she gets nothing but death threats. The idea, maybe she was a doctor when Rachel did this stupid impression, but right now she is in hiding because she is in fear for her life, and the president is making it worse, and Rachel Butera is rubbing salt in the wound.
Stage, and I have kids myself that I don't know why I speak with vocal fry.
Yeah, let's bring her kids into this, because you're not enough of a subhuman.
But you can listen to my testimony and hear that a grown woman sounds this way. Dr. Blasey Ford, thank you.
Wow. And she thought that was so funny. It's difficult to get away from how unbelievably offensive and inhuman that was. To point out that that was not remotely funny, not remotely accurate as an impression, not any kind of showcase of yourself as a voice actor. Any YouTube asshole could do that. And yet, notably, they didn't because they've got humanity. Where is your humanity, Rachel Butera? And where is the moral courage, the fortitude, the just basic decency as a voice actor to stand up and say, hey, someone in our community did something really disgusting and I've got an opinion about it. Well, I've got an opinion about it. I think it's disgusting. It's despicable. I think Murphy Brown is obligated to fire her because Murphy Brown is ostensibly back as the antidote to this awful misogynistic culture we find ourselves in. And for Rachel Butera, she is disqualified as far as I'm concerned. And Disney, you fired James Gunn, your golden goose, the director that everybody loved, the guy who took Guardians of the Galaxy and Howard the frickin' Duck and turned it into gold for you because of a bunch of bad jokes that you were aware of when you hired him over a decade ago. If you keep Rachel Butera on, now yes, there is a greater argument to be had about why you're doing this dumb, awful-looking show that everybody already hates to begin with. Again, 12,000 likes, many of them paid for, and 145,000 dislikes of the trailer. I would question why you would air it to begin with, but even if you don't air it, this is your chance to prove you're not a hypocrite, Disney, and say, yeah, family values includes we don't mock rape victims. So Rachel Butera, who, by the way, is voicing Leah Organa, one of the feminist icons of the last 30, 40 years, maybe the biggest one in the realm of science fiction and fantasy, she's got to go. And again, if you want to broadcast this to the world, send a copy of this podcast to every casting director, every talent agent, everyone who hosts seminars. Send it to everyone in the voiceover community and say, yeah, Matt Sager says Rachel Butera deserves to be fired for mocking victims of sexual assault. And whatever consequences may come, I'll take them. But honestly, anyone with a shred of humanity feels the same as I do, if not more so, if not more vitriol toward this disgusting, oh, and let me go run and hide while I become a hero of the KKK and the Trumpists and the white nationalists. F you, Rachel. F you and the horse you rode in on, and I really hope your career ends because of this. Maybe it's because I'm a victim. Barely. I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for Christine Blasey Ford, but I know what it's like to be a victim. I know what it's like to be attacked and to be mocked for coming forward. I don't know what it's like to have your life destroyed while idiots like Rachel laugh at you, but I'm not okay with it, and I'm not okay with Rachel. And yeah, I'm sure we can be friends one day, and I'm sure she does work that isn't unfunny and tasteless and hateful and awful. I'm not aware of it, but I'm sure she's capable of it. But Disney has a moral obligation to fire her. The precedent they set with James Gunn demands it. And Murphy Brown, if they continue to have her on the show after this, then there's no reason for this dumb show from the 90s to be on the air. Because they're not an antidote to any kind of misogyny. They've got a misogynist as a co-star. So get rid of her. Bring her back in a couple years. Let her do an apology tour. And then we'll, I don't know. Look, we brought Mel Gibson back in a very limited capacity. I'm sure we can do the same for Rachel. I'm not calling for her to be blacklisted. I'm calling for people to have an ounce of backbone and just call her on her crap. Oh, and call me, by the way, but not on my crap. Call me to say hello at 646-535-4788. Also, email me, matt@mattsager.com, and hit me up on social media. On Twitter, I'm @mattsager. Instagram, Real Matt Sager, Facebook, The Matt Sager, and my voiceover page where, yes, by all means, share your thoughts on Rachel Butera and other voiceover-related activities. That page is Matt Sager VO on Facebook, and the podcast page on Facebook is Matt Sager Podcast. And for more social media links, along with my voiceover reels, more contact information, more episodes of this podcast, articles, blog posts, and a whole lot more, head on over to mattsagervoiceover.com.